Now, the world has changed substantially since I last spoke here mid-last year in ways that none of us could have properly predicted or imagined. But the truth of last week's budget, I think, was that not enough has changed. Yes, our country is now in the deepest, most damaging recession in almost a century, but growth was already well below trend. In fact, it was already the weakest since the global financial crisis. We are now facing a full-blown jobs crisis, but back then, mid-year, the labour market was already being corroded by insecure work, record low wages growth and rampant underemployment, and all of that left us vulnerable. We do now have a lifetime of debt and record deficits as far as the eye can see, but debt was already well over half what the government inherited, and it was already growing. Now, COVID-19 may be the defining event for the 97% of the global population born after the Second World War. But for too many Australians, it hasn't brought a change in course, just an acceleration in trajectory. It's a matter of speed and scale, not substance. This pandemic has entrenched the disadvantages of age and gender, geography and education. It has magnified structural weaknesses in growth, investment, dynamism and productivity. And it's exposed the unfairness and the uncertainty inflicted by years of cuts to essential services, growing casualisation and financial insecurity. So for all of the saturation talk that we hear of unprecedented times, the truth is the problems gripping our economy existed long before COVID arrived, and the solutions need to endure long after it's gone. That's the transformative opportunity in front of us. That's what we need to salvage from the hardship of this moment. The chance to convert this crisis into a turning point for Australia. To go beyond recovering and rearranging what we've lost and instead reimagine and renew an Australia stronger and fairer and more secure than it was before. But instead of rising to this occasion, instead of mirroring the resolve and the courage our people have shown throughout this pandemic, the Liberals blew the budget on business as usual. The Treasurer's budget speech was the longest in 34 years, yet never before have so many words offered so little to so few. The big deficits couldn't disguise a document of small ambitions. The eye-watering numbers couldn't compensate for the lack of vision. The boastful rhetoric couldn't hide the modest thinking. And when Australia desperately needed an ambitious budget, instead we got something which was somehow less than the sum of its parts. The country needed a plan to respond to the recession, kickstart the recovery and redefine the future. Instead, we got a grab bag of limited opportunities and lowered horizons. We needed new recognition of the good that comes from government and community working together, and instead we saw the reheating of old and tired ideology.